Oh damn, boys.
Wow.
Nice.
We all made it back.
We're here.
Like life.
Back from what? From the new year?
We just
Yeah,
made
old
it
year.
back
Well, just in
to the
general.
podcast.
Back to the
Yeah.
future?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like Lord of the Rings, like after they do the journey. And then
What's the
they're back.
point? Do we even need to do this podcast? I mean, think about it. Like everything in the world is just fine. There's nothing going on. It's all normal. The course of
I
the
want to talk
trajectory
about
of
how
our
great things are.
right. I mean, there's really no point for us to do anything that we're doing. We should just go back to our normal lives, just get normal jobs, get normal jabs.
Feel bliss. Feel
When they
bliss
tell us
now.
to go to our homes because it's too hot outside.
Yeah.
Like, dude, imagine 2 fucking generations now. I'm just making up a number. Like, it'll be like, it's too cold outside. You need to go inside now. And then the kid's like, okay. And then you go, and everyone goes inside their house.
Like, you're hungry now.
That level
Time to
of
go
fucking-
eat.
right. Like, oh,
Yeah.
you haven't eaten in 2 hours. And then like it pops up with like an ad, like for like fucking Papa John's or something, you know?
And then it just shows up at your door. Yeah.
Wait, not Papa John's. That guy.
well, they've distanced themselves from him. He's
No, no,
actually
no.
pretty cool.
He's back now, I think.
Oh, really?
Papa's back.
He's,
He's
back.
back. Papa's
Papa's
back.
Papa's back. That's right.
Interesting.
And he actually
You know a story or?
yeah, he was doing this interview because like for a while I was listening to the radio for like a day, and because like I couldn't figure out the radio on my car, and so it was just going straight to radio when I would turn it on, and so I put it on AM because
Hold on, I'm sorry. You couldn't figure out the radio on your new Range Rover? Is that what you're saying?
yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay.
I feel like it's too
missed
nice.
that.
Complicated
That'd get confusing.
screen, and I was like, what the
So
fuck?
but you were saying when you were sitting in your Range Rover
yeah.
and
Yeah.
you were also trying to operate the multimedia interface.
It's really comfy in your new car, Drake.
Yeah,
It is really
Oh,
nice
yeah.
sitting in your new Range Rover.
I like it. Yeah. Anyway, so
It's really
I couldn't figure out the radio for a couple of days, and so I would just had it set to just go straight to AM because I couldn't connect my Bluetooth. And then I heard just like as I got in the car, Papa John speaking. I don't know his actual name, but he was talking about how
Papa.
like,
First name Papa,
called
last
Papa.
name John.
that's it. I was pretty sure that's what it was. But he was talking about how when he was booted from the company, there were a couple of things going on. The PR firm that they hired literally to do their PR was the same people who were putting out the information or the slam on him about being racist.
Right.
And so like, I didn't know that. I didn't realize that's who was doing
Wait. Sorry. We're over here in the background trying to figure out it's this mic situation.
Hello. Hello.
Can you just figure that out real quick so I can stop
Is
being
that good?
distracted? I feel like I missed a.
Why does it
important part
look
of
like
the
it's
story.
facing us?
It's
Is this an optical illusion?
exactly. This is the angle of it. So it's going here. It's
Why
coming
don't
to
you
my
switch
mouth.
it the other way?
Well, how does it sound? Just tell me how it fucking sounds.
I think
Why aren't you
sound
talking?
alright.
Why aren't you talking into the front of it?
Because that's where the
No,
the
because
diaphragm.
yeah, it's like actually on the side. It's not in the front.
The diaphragm is like this.
Oh, okay. It's just that's a circular thing, so it looks like it should.
But
be.
how does it sound? Just tell me how it sounds.
It sounds
I
good.
think,
now.
I think you sound fine.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Okay. Keep going.
You just
So
always
You know,
Papa
like when a
close.
woman says it's fine, it's kind of like that.
John. So you guys are all being women right
Are we
now.
gonna do a whole episode on that again?
Yes. But
Okay,
continue,
okay.
Drake.
I don't know. It's just
Welcome to Self Perfected.
it's
Drop
just
the
when I
intro.
talk into my mic.
no, that's too loud. That's
When I
Way
talk
too
into my
loud.
brand new Yeti Nano, it just seems to work perfectly. I don't know why.
All right. Anybody
Nice.
else need to flex anything real quick?
Hey, I'm still riding strong with the OG.
Yeah,
Whatever
this
the
is the
fuck
OG.
you call this,
This is the
Fi
same
Fi?
mic. This is the same mic. It's just
Hey,
got a
My mic is actually. Can you read it?
Fine.
I'm fine.
fine.
yeah.
I
So
bet
what
Jess
happened to
feels.
Papa?
I bet Jess feels fine when she's driving in a Porsche.
Oh, true that. She looks
Hey.
fine too.
Hey, that's what's up.
Yeah, I took it out yesterday. Oh man. There's this giant hill. As soon as you get out of our neighborhood, there's this huge hill. And I just gunned it up the entire thing. It was just liberating. I felt like I was gonna fly off the top.
That's
did.
funny.
Asif, you just got back from the Dominican, right?
Yeah.
So I'm guessing
Wait,
you
wait,
haven't.
wait, hang on,
gotten
hang on,
in your
hang
car
on,
yet.
hang on. We
Guessing
gotta
you
know
haven't
about
gotten in
Papa.
your car. Well,
We
I just
gotta
want to
know
know,
about
did you
Papa.
get in your car yet?
Uh-huh.
No.
No, I'll grab it once I make my first 7 figures.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I should have closed you on it when I was there, but
No, it's okay. I'm clear.
I got the
Clear.
sniffles.
I'm using it.
Right.
Yeah, you're
Close them
got
the
the
because
sniffles.
Cameron
I'm
Cameron
using it
just
as a
became a
reward.
Cameron became a
Yeah.
car salesman. If you're
Yes.
wondering,
Yeah.
that's what he was closing.
Did you
us
get
on.
your new truck? You're a
No,
piece
I
of shit, dude.
Hey, I'm focused on other things right now. We'll talk more about that later.
That's
More
Fine.
about that later. So okay, what happened? to
Fine,
Papa?
it's
What
fine.
happened to
Yeah,
Papa?
yeah. But we'll go back to that part you were saying about something about.
So you're
his-
listening to Papa John on the radio, and you weren't sure his Papa or.
but they were
his first name's
using
Papa,
you were just
last
telling
name
the
John.
background story.
Yeah, no, what I was just saying was like they were
What was it
using
like?
a PR firm,
Yeah.
and the PR firm was the firm that was also slandering him.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. They basically entrapped him into saying something that they could use against him, even
Yeah.
though they didn't release what actually happened. So they could just, I mean, think about it. It's a PR firm. Like they literally, it's a PR firm that's being hired by Papa John's company. How effective? No, let's think about it. How effective do you think that PR firm is?
Yeah.
They're probably pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
Like if Papa John's is going to be using him,
If
right?
if you're recovering from what was it? Like he said the N-word or something like that?
no,
no. This is
no,
what we're
they're
talking
the
about.
ones who
Listen.
put that shit out there.
Meaning, what
Okay,
I'm
so
trying to
what-
say is, but here's what I'm trying to say. Think of how effective a PR firm is at creating like a public narrative and shaping a story.
Mhm.
And if they're a company like Papa John's would hire, they're probably really effective.
But the reason you're saying Papa John,
So
like
this
the reason you're saying
company-
that is because something bad happened to Papa John's. I don't know if people know that.
No.
No.
Because this company is the one that created the false narrative about him.
What's the false narrative? Is what I'm saying.
That he's racist and was like saying the N-word and stuff on
Right,
in like
right.
a meeting and stuff like unnecessarily.
So then he hired them again to fix that.
No, he didn't hire them to fix it. He had hired them to do some training on like how to handle situations like that.
Jesus.
So they deliberately used it to entrap him,
Wow.
to then blackmail him, blah 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 blah.
Dude,
And
that's
like the members of
genius.
his board and everything went on the side of that company, and they all conspired together to fucking remove him. That's his story, anyways.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
And it's pretty cool when you hear him tell it because he's pretty clear. Like he's not like
Yeah,
he doesn't even seem bitter about it. He's just like, hey, I still walked away with like $150 million. He's like, I'm good, but you know, it's still bullshit.
but I guess he's back with the company now, and he's like, man, those people who were running the company while I was away,
Fucked up.
they fucked up so hard. The stock prices went down.
Steve Jobs
they
type
fucked
shit.
over our
Yeah, exactly.
franchisees, all that. And he's like, and I just like, I have money, but I want to see, my franchisees do well and all that. And he's like, and somehow he made it back. And he's like, and so our numbers are coming back up. Those guys, they were shit. Fuck those guys.
He's like Papa John got to be a good grandfather to his franchise babies.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
it. He's pretty cool guy. Pretty cool guy. I don't know how we got on that topic though.
Something about your Range Rover.
Something about your microphone.
Oh yeah, the AM radio.
I don't
Something
know.
about Drake doesn't know how to use his car.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know.
This is
Did
the
you
only
gotta
guy
watch
who
the
gets a
tutorial
Range
on it.
Rover and then just listens to AM talk radio.
yeah.
That weird staticky shit where it's like you kind of hear some Mexican music bleeding into it. and
That's
you're like,
right.
Who's listening to this? Yeah, you're like, who the fuck is listening?
So you
That's
guys,
true. How-
you guys aren't doing
yeah.
that.
Oh, I know how we got here. I remember now. Cameron was
Tell me.
saying we should stop doing the podcast because the world's already perfect. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Papa John's back in charge. I mean, what else? What other justice
Dude,
do you need?
Papa's back. We got nothing to worry about. That's amazing.
Yes.
There is still
Yes.
justice in the world. Wow.
Hmm.
All right. So let's just wrap it up.
Okay.
All right,
Like,
guys.
Sounds good.
comment,
See you
subscribe.
next week.
Well, tell me. Let's. I got some context. Talk about your Dominican because I know you went on a little quick trip. Because,
Talk about me? I'm like,
No.
I'm
I
a
went back
token
to Drake's
Dominican
home
here.
country.
yes, you own Drake, right?
Yes.
So I'd like you to talk about your Dominican, please.
That was cool. Me and Maylat, we went for a week to the Dominican. It's funny because I wasn't gonna go,
Right.
and there's just like well, I'm really glad I went because every time we go on a trip together, we hit like a new level in our relationship because it's just like a new space where you can just, I don't know, you could just explore so much more and just, you have so much time to just talk and just explore ideas and brainstorm and paint an even more clear vision for the future versus at home. It's like, we gotta, like book time to spend together, right?
Wait, was it at the same place we went to before?
No, it was a different place. I've never
Okay.
been here before, but it was pretty.
They
It was
must all
really
look
good,
the same. Yeah.
actually. Yeah,
It
I
looked
was like,
really
that was like the
nice.
place we were at. Yeah,
It
it
looks
Moon,
was
super
Moon
nice.
Palace is always going to be so far from every resort
Oh.
that I've been to. Moon Palace has
Yeah.
been.
No,
by far the
I've
best.
never, because you're thinking then once you go to Moon Palace, you're like, why isn't every all inclusive exactly like this?
Yeah, exactly. Where it's
You
just
know,
like
'cause then you go to
unlimited
some and you're
drinks
like-
all the time.
Okay,
Yeah, I would definitely go back there. But yeah, it's really cool. Like if you have a partner, take the opportunity to travel with your partner. I know Chantal and Owen, for example, they've been traveling a lot from North Dakota to here, and because when they were coming down to Miami, they stopped at our place and they stayed for a night or two, and it was really cool because we were talking about, so like, how's it been, and they're just talking about all the points that they were growing through and really like just establishing like real roots in their relationship through going through all these new experiences together, because it will stimulate different parts of you, right? Like travel is a great point. I remember when Mela and I, when we first traveled together, going to an airport and things like that, very stressful experience for her. I did it like not 100 times, but I traveled a lot, where that experience for me of getting to the airport like hour and a half in advance, like in Ottawa, I get to the airport maybe like an hour in advance. It's like still plenty of time. Versus for Mela, it's like, dude, we're supposed to be there 2+ hours in advance, even for an Ottawa airport. It was that experience of stress, right? Versus now, it's like she's a totally different person. She's like floating through the airport. I'm like, amazing. So cool, because a lot of people accept a lot of programming of, oh, I'm just a XYZ personality, or I'm just this kind of person who needs to be top. It's all bullshit. You can change every part about you. So it's just been cool, our first travel experiences compared to this travel experience, and just hanging out all over this resort. And we got some, I don't know, just one thing I learned is that Maylat loves the ocean. She's like a little fish in there. So that was super cute. Just like going in the ocean, it was just fun. So we'll probably
But
do
why
that
did
more.
you go? Because she went to a wedding, right, for like a friend or something. But why did you go?
Why did I go specifically?
Yeah.
Well, it's just to be there when
But you weren't gonna go.
I wasn't gonna go.
Talk about
And
that.
it was really just the
something people
context.
can learn from that. Yeah.
Okay, that's a good point. So Maylat being pregnant, there's just a new level of responsibility.
Wait, she's pregnant?
Yeah, I think we talked about it already.
Ding ding ding.
Drake, I think you were in your Range Rover when we were talking about it.
Trying to figure out the
Couldn't
radio.
tune
Yeah.
This whole time?
But it's cool because it makes you a lot more considerate of all the consequences. Because it's really awesome. Here's a point to consider. Maylat was, I don't remember what she was doing, but she was, I don't know, was doing her techno tutor or just doing some research or whatever. And she's like, as if female breasts aren't considered mature until you're pregnant, until you're having a baby. And I was like,
can-
oh, that's fascinating. Because
I can confirm.
I
that.
mean, I don't know if this is TMI, but her boobs got way bigger. It's just a natural phenomenon of.
yes, we all
of-
noticed. Yeah.
Exactly, right?
Don't tell her I said that. Maylat, just mute the last 5 seconds of this.
Yeah. But the point is, that's a natural phenomenon of being pregnant, because your boobs are preparing to start providing milk, which is never done before. But before that
I
point,
still haven't gotten my milk, by the way. I don't know what's going on.
yeah, for you it'll take more time.
Okay.
Um,
Just give it time.
once your beard
You're
grows back
maturing,
out.
Cameron.
Hey, I
Uh,
did trim though.
I know, it looks really good. I was
It was
gonna
getting a
say,
little
when I
bit
came onto
scraggly.
the podcast, like when I came into the Zoom room, you look like you just came out of the Matrix, dude. Like
How?
because the coat, like that,
the
you
straight
look
collar.
sharper,
Yeah.
got a new mic.
True.
Um,
I did.
Hang
Get
on,
a
I don't think
new-
anyone in the Matrix movies.
Did
is
anybody
wearing
notice this
Carhartt.
new mic I got? Okay.
what did you say, Mitch?
I don't think anyone in the Matrix movies is wearing Carhartt.
Carhartt,
That's true.
It's gonna be like the new Matrix.
the country
They're
boy
like on a
Matrix.
farm with pigs.
Yeah, you guys are ripping like tractors,
Yeah, dude.
car race.
No,
Hey,
we're
you do
fighting
have,
the
you do have all the
tractors.
guns though. You have the
We're fighting Bill Gates's like
It's
automated
like
tractors.
Terminator Matrix.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, Revenge of the
I would
Tractors.
Hey, we could cast Eric Vigil.
Eric
He could be
Vigil.
like,
Hey,
You're in, brother.
true.
I'll
Could
be
be Arnold.
back. You had the shotgun. That was funny.
yeah.
Anyways, let me hit this point home.
Okay.
So it was a really interesting point of, oh, it's actually as if a woman has not matured. Their body hasn't physically matured until they have children. Let that speak to your process. That my concept of a relationship now, for real, okay? My concept of a relationship now is everything before you have kids is just preparation, finding out what you need to work on and develop and stabilize in order to have kids. Having kids is the beginning of the purpose of being in a relationship. That's what I now realize for myself. Everything else is just preparation or to find out where am I flawed. Like for me, for example, if we were to have kids when I first started dating Maylat, I would be a fucked father. I would be the average father. I would have went into survival mode and want to get a job and all this bullshit. My point is, you want to develop a basic level of stability and then have kids as soon as possible, because that's when it is the foundation for you building on everything. So what I was saying before is consequence. You become much more cognizant of consequence, right? She obviously doesn't want any accidental alcohol to touch her tongue. Or if we order a little sugary drink, a virgin non-alcoholic sugary drink, and she smells it and she's like, I think I didn't see him put any alcohol. I didn't see him put any alcohol. He said no alcohol, but it smells a little bit alcoholic. Don't drink it. Just get something else. We're on a resort. Everything's free, right? It's like some banana drink. It was pretty yummy, actually. It's like a smoothie. But the point is, you're much more cognizant of consequence, right? So I wasn't paying attention to that when Maylat was going on this trip. It was for her friend's wedding, which was really cool. A nice little beach wedding and stuff like that. And she was a bridesmaid. And I wasn't considering, there's a lot of emotions that might be within that, seeing. So these are friends that she had her whole life, who didn't see for a while, who she's now kind of removed from that environment. And so Katie was just mentioning the point. She's like, hey, you should go, because Cameron and Katie were at our house for like 10 days or something like that, which was a lot of fun. I don't know if we talked much about that, but that was a lot of fun. And she was mentioning, hey, you should go because there's going to be a lot of things that will be difficult for her to process on her own by herself, where everyone's getting drunk and wasted and all that stuff. And she's just pregnant Maylat walking this process where you already feel removed from that, because you physically are on a different level than other people in terms of what you're considering, what you're focused on. Right. And so being there, I was so glad that Katie had said that you guys were there to kind of be like, hey. And then, because right away when she said that, I'm like, okay, you know what? That makes sense. I'm going to go. When I was there, both of us couldn't imagine me not being there. It's crazy. It was like, I have no idea what she would do in XYZ situations if I wasn't there. So it's really understanding, like, and I think this is more so for men, more so, but you're probably used to doing everything lone wolf, because all you're focused on is, I can take care of myself. If I miss the airport and I got to sleep on a fucking, I don't know, if I miss the flight and I have to sleep at the airport for a night, like who cares, whatever. Versus Maylat is like, I'm not sleeping on an air mattress. Even that. Right. It seems uncorrelated, but what I'm saying is she wouldn't even lower her standards to that. Right. If the bed isn't the way she likes it, she has a certain quality or a certain standard. Right. And my point is, for me, I'm like, do whatever, the food's uncooked, I'll just eat it. Right. Cameron, we're making the joke when you were here. Right. Versus it's more like
We went to a steak restaurant. Yeah. And then like we ordered like medium rare.
Huh.
And then they brought it medium rare. And then Maylat looked at it and she was like, I'm not eating this.
It was like a little more rare than medium rare. From what
it may have been regardless, but she was just like, yeah, I don't want that. And then he like sent it back. So it was cool because like we were joking about how probably me, I would have definitely done this, and as if maybe too, like I would just been like, it's fine, I'll just eat it, it's
Like,
not a big
just
deal,
eat
you
it,
know.
you know.
But like Melat is like, nah. And it, like to me, the way I look at it, that's a very feminine female expression versus the male expression.
Hmm.
You
It's
know,
cool.
which kind of goes to the opposite of what most people would think, I would think, right? But it's kind of like it's more of like a direct, like, no, like fuck you, fuck you.
Well,
fuck
there's
you.
this
Your
point,
feelings
right?
are, I don't care. Like, I want a different steak. I don't want this. This is not.
There's
this
this point of women attract and men chase. So when men get what they want, they're like, fuck it, I'll take it. I got it.
Kind of, yeah. It's like,
Right?
or, but it's, I think it's also, it's like, okay, we're gonna go on a little tangent real quick. All right. Like, think about
That's what this podcast is about, baby.
People always say that women are more emotionally sensitive to people's feelings and so forth.
Oh,
which
dude.
I'm not
Going down this rabbit hole?
disagreeing with. I'm not disagreeing with that. But in the situation where the state comes back, can you see like the guy would be more likely to be like, oh no, it's fine, versus the woman would be like, no, I'm not fucking eating this. And then she would probably expect the guy to be the one to be like, go get a different steak.
Yeah.
Now, if he's weak, he'll be like, no, honey, it's okay. If he's strong, he'll be like, all right, I'll do what you say.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? So anybody who thinks that we're like, oh, the woman is to serve the man bullshit or something like that, it's like, no, it works the other way too. Right?
Yeah, it was like she pointed it out.
It's the
and I
man's
was like,
job to go
wait.
get the right steak for her.
Exactly. I
right?
was like, wait, let me see. I want to see this for myself. And I'm like, ah, shit, that's pretty pig. She's right. Okay. But versus you're right. If I was by myself, probably would have just eaten it. But because she asked for it, I was like, yeah, cool. She's not eating it. All right, cool. Get another one. Right. I think we had to send it back twice.
Because I'm thinking about, oh, like that waiter, he probably has to like go through all this
Exactly,
bullshit, like,
exactly,
I feel
right?
bad for him and all that
Uh.
stuff, right? Whereas the woman's like, I don't care. Like tell the slave to bring back another steak.
we tipped him well. Right.
Right.
He was cool about it. Right. So it's just going back to, this is why we have to keep shooting the podcast.
Also, by the way, the manager
Regardless
came
of
out,
who.
right, to ask to bring back the second one, I think, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're right.
But the manager was a
You're
woman.
right. You're right. Yes.
She gets it.
Yeah.
She gets it. Anyways,
Did Melat end up enjoying the steak?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good.
Would you recommend this restaurant?
Yes, the appetizers were fucking awesome.
it was not bad. I mean, it was like your typical.
The appetizers were
what was
great.
it called?
I don't know.
Was it better than the Orlando
Longhorn.
one?
Longhorn. that's
Oh
what it was.
no, not like that.
Oh, okay,
This was
okay.
like
No,
more
no.
like run
This
of
is
the
like
mill.
a family like steak. house,
Like an Olive Garden of a steakhouse type
like
thing.
yeah, like an Outback sort of
average.
level, a little
Yeah,
better
yeah.
than
Okay.
Outback.
Oh, okay.
But just for like some like, oh, you want some delicious like
Do you guys have Texas Roadhouse or like Saltgrass Steakhouse? I
Oh
don't know if
yeah,
that's
we
a
have
regional
Texas
thing.
Roadhouse up here.
It's
the appetizers we
basically
got
like
were
that.
really good.
It's
It
called
was like these
Longhorn.
little chicken bites and like these little onion flake things and
no,
something
dude,
else.
the mushrooms.
Oh
remember
yeah,
that?
exactly. And the
It's
mushrooms
like
with
blue
cheese on
cheese,
it.
mushrooms with
Yeah,
those are
Ooh.
good.
That was really good.
We actually
Um,
went back to Longhorn when we were in. Where did we stop at? Some place, Tallahassee, right? Because we were gonna go to this really cool Irish place, but then it was like super crowded and like everything was crowded, so we just went to the Longhorn again. It was not bad.
Nice.
Very good. Was that the place that we went to? Is that what it called?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So anyways, yeah, it was just really realizing, oh damn, there's more responsibility, especially when your wife's pregnant, of being much more cognizant of the amount that they're going through. Because the thing that I was mentioning before that is, me and Melat have only been together for like 2 years and a bit. And the reason I'm bringing that up is typically a man is much more lone wolf. It's just do whatever, be okay with whatever, just keep moving forward, right? Versus thinking for two and being really considerate and cognizant of the way women experience emotion and the way they process their environment and different things, and the way they process social environments, specifically in regards to social environments, friend circles, things like that. It's much more intense than for a guy. It's much more significant to a woman to be like social shame will overtake a woman much more powerfully than it would a man. Not to say that it doesn't for men, but it's just much more significant to a woman. So it's just really seeing this point of oh damn, I couldn't imagine not going to this because of all the things that were going on there. People are getting wasted. All of our friends like getting really drunk, and it's hyper sexualized. I remember being there and Melat being like, yeah, I'll never bring my kids to a resort ever. Maybe, and then we were talking about having self-perfected.
What was hypersexualized about it? Like, what's the context?
It's like the resort. It's like designed to, like, they have a bar in the pool so that you can be half naked, drunk, and like music blasting and everybody like making out and stuff.
I see.
It's like, it's a lot, right? If you're a family oriented person. So I could see all the points of, wow, if I wasn't self-directed, if I didn't have these points to say, oh, there's a purpose for your life.
Why don't you ever see Mark Zuckerberg at a resort like that?
Because he's working.
Mark Zuckerberg owns Hawaii.
It's
He's
like,
creating.
because he has his own fucking huge, massive place and probably waiters and servants at some level, staff and private chefs and all the things you would want at an inclusive resort. He's got all that.
Right. That's why
So-
we have to make, this is what Melat was talking about. She's like, we have to make resorts. We have to have resorts where there's like no drinking, family oriented, which would be really cool. And we were talking about all the points of how we could set up the system where in a world that's best, where everybody could always have access to like like dining hall like this, where they can come and like socialize and get free food, because that's the best feeling. Just food all the fucking
And
time.
why can't like teenagers just like work there?
Yeah.
Exactly. They have like a phase in everyone's life that you go through where for 2, 3, 4 years, you like do your service and then you make, right? Because then you learn the discipline of that. You learn the systems. It'd be fun too, because you're with your peers, right? You're not working 24/7.
And it's not like,
That'd be awesome.
because think about the thing that makes that a really shitty experience for the people working there is survival pressure.
Exactly.
But it's
Right,
like,
right. Imagine like, sorry, I just want to put this out there. Like, imagine you had like, imagine you only needed like 20 waiters, just making up numbers, okay? But you had like 100 teenagers like staying there. And so they could cycle through and no one had to feel like overworked, like I'm working 8 hours a day, all this bullshit. But then also you had like ATVs and like, you know, like fun stuff to do. So it was like they're at a resort also, but they're just like cycling through, like doing the work for
Yeah.
everybody.
And then like
it'd be like a summer camp,
Well,
you know.
in like the shitty stuff too, like washing dishes or whatever, where people may not prefer that. Some people may like that. I don't know. But you know, obviously you'd have like automation and
Right. We could automate a lot of stuff. Yeah.
and here's what we were looking at is like, imagine you had 100 teenagers that are cycling through work and you had to do dishes once per 100 people. It's like you do it once every 3.5 months.
Well, that's like when we were at the farm and
If everyone pitches in, right? It's like,
when we were at the
everybody-
Destiny farm, that's how it was. It would be like once a week I would do dishes, like at dinner time. Like,
Right.
after dinner rather. So it was like that's all I ever had to dishes, like once a week. And then like once a month we would be like the ones who made dinner. Yeah. And it was like
because what we were looking at is all the, what are you laughing at, Drake?
I'm laughing because I just remembered this story that Cam told once of like them making dinner and then using everything in the fridge.
where I was like, you guys are not allowed, the Americans are not allowed to make dinner anymore.
Yeah.
Because like we had no regard for like, oh, you know.
But yeah, what I was gonna say was there was this massive room that had probably like hundreds of, I'm saying hundreds, but maybe 100 tables in it. Massive, right? And there were waiters there to serve you drinks, change the tablecloths, get you cutlery. That's basically it. And then when you go into the buffet area, this is one of the restaurants, right? When you go to the buffet area, there's a lot of people cooking, right? So you have the people cooking, and then you have the people standing behind to just answer questions or whatever. And I was seeing for all the waiters, must have been like 20 waiters or something like that. And I was like, we could literally do this ourselves. Like in a different world, right? In a different system, we could take care of this part ourselves. I can go get myself water or juice there when they're just getting people juice. I can go get my own cutlery. I can put my cutlery back in the dishwasher or in the dirty bin or whatever. and I could just swap the tablecloth before we go. It takes me 2 minutes to do all of that, where we wouldn't require waiters in that context. Now, obviously, that's not the starting point of having this. They want more waiters there because, well, no, they don't want more waiters there, but the waiters want to be there because they get tips and all that stuff. But the point is, it's really interesting when you start processing.
That's just because they have to survive.
Exactly. It's interesting when you start processing things from a new starting point of not survival pressure, but what happens when we all work together. If I wasn't like, you're my slave, serve me. And like we were talking about for
Like
the
if you
teenagers,
like
they were
if
cooking
having
and stuff.
slaves wasn't even an option.
Yeah.
Like if you were like, in my equation of what I'm going to create, I can't use slaves. So then I have to be really creative about how do I put it together and how do I manage all of it. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yesterday, Asif and I were walking down Park Ave over here, which is like a lot of nice shops. Like Asif was making this joke because there's all these nice cars that congregate there. And Asif was making this joke of like, it's kind of like a dog park where everyone brings, their nice car here and all the cars can talk to each other or whatever.
They all chat
right?
with each other.
Yeah. But
Where'd you get groomed today?
Yeah.
Joey's car wash.
But while we were walking down the sidewalk, there's all these like nice restaurants and everything, like pretty fancy and everything. And we saw Richard Branson setting his own table. Like it was insane. We saw, Richard Branson, that guy? We saw him just like doing his own table and everything. We were like, wow, look at that. Like
At a restaurant?
yeah. He was like dressed like a server too. He looked a little washed up, but I mean,
We saw this guy who looks exactly like Richard Branson if he didn't make it.
I thought this was a real story.
Yeah.
I know.
pretty
I don't know why
much
he
was
told it like
Richard
that, but-
Branson.
I was like trying to process it. Like
I'm like, where's he going with this?
I was like, oh,
But-
maybe he owns the restaurant.
Well,
He's
no,
doing
the
one of those
point
things.
is he's doing this. If he could do it himself, set his own table, right? With his
Then we
own
all
cutlery, we can all do it. Okay.
No, but shit you not, this guy looked like literally fucking Richard Branson if he didn't make it and was just
Okay.
like sour about him not
Like an alternate timeline.
exactly.
Where he took the wrong turn in the woods.
And he's literally still a virgin.
His mom drops him off in the middle of nowhere and he doesn't make it back home.
He ends up wandering to like a cracked inn. I mean, wouldn't that be the risk?
It's every
That's
other.
like the reason. That's the reason for his success, right? So it'd be the reason he failed on the alternate timeline.
Mm,
That's hilarious. Oh
Mm.
man.
Imagine
yeah,
that
it was-
entire story being made up.
What was that?
Just imagine that entire story being made up about Richard Branson getting dropped in the woods. Like,
Right.
what if it's literally all just fake?
Imagine they actually had some secret fucking potion. They drink it and they become successful. And they all have to come up with some bullshit story about why they became successful.
But think about this: like my kid,
Adrenochrome.
we have woods, and they go off in the woods by themselves.
oh,
Like,
yeah.
you know what I mean? So it's just more an example of a certain level of independence, whether the story is real or not or whatever. It's like if you were supported effectively, you could do stuff like that.
Mhm.
I wouldn't say that it's the reason. Well, it may be the reason why he's so successful. It may be. You know what I mean? Because the way his programming was set up, and the
That
way
would
he
be a
processed that experience.
symptom. That would be a symptom of why he's successful.
But what I'm saying is maybe the fact that he survived that experience, he had to become ruthless.
Mm.
And like you know what I mean? Maybe it did create something within him.
Mm.
But that's not. But that only is relevant in the context of a system where you have to be ruthless at enslaving people. Do you know what I mean? And like cutthroat and all kinds of stuff. So if the goal is for everybody to be Richard Branson, okay, I guess let's apply that to everybody. But how many kids live in the fucking wilderness in fucking wherever, some remote place, and they don't become Richard Branson? So it's clearly not. Like I'm saying, it may be the reason why he individually is successful. Like it was a formative point in his experience, but it's not replicatable. And it's
Even
only
Survivor
relevant
Man
in the
is not
context of creating a world where everybody is like that. And it's like, I always say that to Max and Seneca whenever they're doing something that's not best. I'm like, is this the world you want to create? And they're like, well, so
Yeah, man. That always blows my mind. The way children process that point, specifically your kids, of like, they'll be really honest with you.
Mhm.
You'll be like, is that best? They'll be like, no, but here's what I want to do anyways.
Max always says, like, lately he'll be like, Cameron, I have something I want to do. You're not gonna want to do it because it's not best, but I want to do it. And I'm like, well, what is it? And he's like, well, it's not best. And I'm like, well, just tell me what it is, and then we can look at it together and see what we can do. And then he'll explain it, and I'm like, okay, yeah, it's not best. Why do you want to do that? And then he'll tell me, and then I can be like, okay, well, is it that you just want this or whatever? And so we get to the point of what he actually wants, and we find a way to do it. That's not, like,
That is, yeah.
what, I can't think of an example, but it's like something where sometimes he's making an assumption about, we'll let him do something or whatever, but and sometimes it's not a problem.
Hmm.
I
But
remember
we're always explaining everything.
I remember like one of the first few times that I visited with you, and Max would just tell you things that like what would play in my mind, like something that he would say like, oh, I'm just gonna like take your phone and throw it on the ground. Like, because you're like, hey, we're not gonna watch, we're not gonna play on the phones or whatever. And like in that moment he really wanted to, right? And he was like, well, I'm just gonna take your phone and throw it on the ground. But like not saying it spitefully, just like, this is how I'm feeling right now.
Well, yeah, we taught both of them from very young age, like,
Yeah.
express what you want to do instead of doing it.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to hit somebody, just say you want to hit. It's okay to say, I want to hit you right now.
Yeah.
But that isn't still not acceptable to hit the person, and
Yeah.
depending on the context, obviously, right? Like, I was just going to tell you the story about yesterday. So yesterday, Katie went to a baby shower for somebody here in town. So I took the kids and we went to Marshall, and we went to just like a restaurant. And so it was just me and Max and Seneca. And at a certain point, they needed to use the restroom. So I took them to the restroom. And as I was coming back out, I was walking with Max, and Seneca was behind me. And she was like pulling down her, like the little tights or whatever she was wearing, and her underwear. She had a dress on. And I was like, Sin, why are you taking off your pants? Like, what are you doing? Like, just like asking, like, what are you doing? And then I was like, let's put them back on. Remember, we're in a public place. Like, we don't take our pants. And she knows that. But I was just explaining to her, like, we're in a public place, so we have to keep our pants and underwear on and everything. And I was putting them back on her. And this woman came out, and she was like, or came by, and she was like, does she need to go to the restroom? And I was like, no, we just went to the restroom. It's fine. And then Seneca kept wanting to pull him down. And I was like, Sin, what's going on? And then I realized, like, oh, wait, I was like, are you itchy, or is there a problem? She's like, yeah, I'm itchy. Because she had some kind of like allergic reaction to something. I don't know, that happens sometimes, and so like her body had some hives or whatever. And she was like, yeah, I'm itchy. And I was like, oh, okay. So I helped her take him off. She had a dress on. So I was like, well, we could take off your pants. It's not a big deal, actually, as long as you just keep your dress on or whatever. And so we went back to the table and everything. And I was just looking at how the normal response that you would see a parent have to that situation, if a kid's just taking off their pants in a restaurant. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, the first response would be like, what are you doing? Like, stop that. Like, you like create shame, guilt, fear, and not even figure out what's going on, and then just make them comply. Do you see what I mean? And then threaten them. That would be the normal response that a parent would have. And I was just looking at my response of like, because I've processed the point of like, even if my kid took off all their clothes, start running around the restaurant, I'm not like embarrassed about it. Like, I know that's not acceptable to allow that to continue, but I'm not like worried about it. You know what I mean? I would direct the situation, but I'm not like, uh-oh, everyone's watching me right now. They think I'm a terrible parent. They think my kids are weird. Like, I'm not feeling any of that. So it's irrelevant. But if all of that is deeply within a person, their immediate point is going to be, it's like, it's taboo to have your clothes off in a restaurant. So I need to shame you.
Yeah.
But then that creates all sort of like, I'm exaggerating and I'm making for a point, but like, imagine like, because you did that, that child became a stripper later. You know what I mean? Because it was like some way to express this inner shame. I'm just making something up. But my point is, you can't really predict if you direct them that way, what's going to be the consequence of that later, where they have some sort of complex around their underwear and public places or whatever. I don't know. You know what I mean? But I look at myself, how all these like random psychological problems that I have from growing up where that happened to me and then it wasn't directed and then it's caused a consequence where it's like these impulses come up and you don't even know where they come from. You don't even think about it.
That's why I was bringing it up, because when I saw you like explaining to your kids, like, hey, just express yourself, and it's okay. And like, you weren't like, oh, you can't say you want to throw my phone on the ground or whatever it is. You can't, or you want to hit somebody. You're not allowed to say that. Like, that's what happened to me as a kid. It's just like, no, you don't say that. And I would get in trouble just for saying that. Like, I'm not going to fucking do
People,
it. God.
people have weird responses to kids. Like we were somewhere the other day and there was this couple that we kind of know, and it was dark. It was like we were around a fire pit. So it's not like the kids could really see who they were. And one of the women was there and she was like, I forget exactly what happened, but she was basically like, hey, do you know who I am? To Seneca, I think it was Seneca. It was either Seneca. I think it was Max, but either way. And they were like, and I was like, oh, that's so-and-so. Don't you recognize them? Do you recognize them? And they were like, no, that's not them. And then the person was like, oh, you recognize so-and-so, but you don't recognize me. I see. And like, you could tell they were joking, like, but at the same time, why would you joke like that to a 5-year-old or a 3-year-old? And like, they don't have the awareness yet to realize like that is actually harmful. Now, if you made it explicitly clear to the child, hey, I'm going to tell you a joke, or something like that. Like, I'm joking right now. You see, so then we would have to explain to the person, and we did. They're joking. They're not actually upset with you. Also, I said to the person, I was like, well, it is dark outside, isn't it? And the way shadows work and stuff on your face, you will look different. And children, when they're little, are still learning to recognize faces. So I said all that, obviously more for the kids' benefit, right?
But how
times
did that
parents
person
don't.
receive it? That's always interesting.
They just kind of looked at me like, but I wasn't saying it for them. You know what I mean?
Right.
But also too, because they're going to have kids soon. So it was kind of also just showing them like, this is how I speak to my kids, and you'll notice when I'm around kids, whether they're my kids or other people's kids, I'm very specific with how I talk to them. And it's not good enough to just do it only with my kids. It's like all kids, because you're programming that kid. That's going to like, whether it was a quick interaction, that's a formative part. That's a major percentage of that child's existence so far, that they're interacting with you. So it's a responsibility. And I mean, look at the world. We don't take responsibility for that. Look at all the advertising and shit that's done. And like you were talking about, not taking kids to the resorts for that very reason.
Because and there were a lot of kids at the resort. It was weird. Like we at one point we literally saw a kid in a stroller park. Thank you. A kid in a stroller parked, and we're like, whose child is this?
Well,
we took a look around, and then it was like, okay, there's person like walking back from their table and blah blah blah. But I'm like, this is not because there was a place for children to play, right? Like a little like pool with like a little slide and things like that. And I wasn't sure if it was like you can drop your kid off and somebody will look after them, or if you just go there and hang out with your children. But me and Mila were talking about it as like, because we know places exist like that all the time. If you want to go to a casino, sometimes there are daycares at the casino where you can drop your child off there.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, why? Why are you going to go?
And think about it. You don't even fucking know the person in there. You're not even going to take the time to check. You're literally just going to go. It's like valet parking your car.
Exactly. You're just like, oh,
but at least I have insurance on my car. You know what I mean? Like shit. It's crazy. Like the
you're just like grateful that there's daycare. You're just grateful that somebody's going to look after your kid. Right.
I will barely let our kids be alone with people we really, really know very well, that we trust in terms of predictability. And yet people would just drop their kids off with total strangers. Think about that. The first day you drop your kid off at school, how many of those parents actually even met the teacher?
Right.
They literally were just like, here you go. And that kid is so tiny and they're like, what's going on? And then suddenly they're in a system, in a structure, and they're like molding to it. And like people have no fucking clue what they're doing to their kids.
One thing I learned from you, Cameron, pretty early on, I think it was the first, I don't know if it was the first or second gym event. I think it was the first gym event that you brought Max to. I think it was when he was in the skeleton costume and you were in that purple suit. All right. That was so funny. but there was another kid there, Alejandro, I think his name was. And I just remember you dancing with Max a little bit, and Max obviously went to bed pretty early. And that kid must have been, I don't know, 5 years old or something like that. I don't know. But you were dancing with the kid, like he was on your feet, and you were like dancing him as if he was your son. And I remember asking you about it afterwards, because I think this was before we were distributors or anything. I wasn't very aware of everything I'm aware of now with parenting and everything. But that's what you said. You said, I treat everyone's children as if they're my own. And obviously the point that you made afterwards was, I'm not going to take them into my care, but I'm just saying when I'm with them, I treat them with the same gravity, like every word I speak to them and the way I treat them as if they were my own child. And I was like,
Well,
damn.
my way of taking them into my own care is to be very vocal and sell people on taking responsibility for their kids.
Mhm.
Because like I can't practically take care of 1 billion children. It's not can't
Mhm.
take care of 5 children. That would be difficult. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
or some large number of children directly. So
Yeah.
the best way to do that would be to create systems. So it's systematic. Like even this podcast, if I'm telling these stories and then people learn from that, then they can go and become an effective parent. You see what I mean? What were you gonna say, Jake?
That's a huge point right there. Like that in itself is like, okay, look, it's not practically possible for us to do this for every other person, and that's why we're so vocal about this, and why we need to share this, and why you should be a part of this and also share this as well. Because if you actually want to see the system change, literally, like what does school do? School takes all the kids and puts them with one person, and then not everyone is getting the focus that they need. They're not getting like somebody being there with them, and actually they're not getting attention. Like just in that alone, let alone that this teacher, you have no idea what their background is and the abuses that they've gone through and what they're going to impose on your child. But just from the perspective of attention, are you, like, when you were a kid, did you get enough attention, or were you like I know in a lot of instances, in my own instance, right, I did not get the attention that I wanted.
I think we take for granted that everyone feels like they're like irrelevant.
Yeah.
Like we're just like a number in a classroom. Yeah.
But that's how
okay,
the system
But
wants you to feel.
that's
isn't it?
why.
You're actually got programmed that
That's
way.
why. Yeah. Right. And so parents themselves feel like they're irrelevant. Right. And
Right.
then they put their kids in that same fucking environment, like absent-mindedly, because you're obviously not present if you're doing that to your kid, if you're abusing your kid in that way, because you know what it felt like when you came into this world and that shit was going on to you, and you were like, what the fuck? Right. But then you just accepted it, and now you're doing that to your kids. And so obviously we're sharing this and we're saying, hey, there's a way to change that, but it's not going to magically happen like where the system just automatically changes, or the system itself is going to be something where it can take on, hundreds of kids, and then your kid's going to be spat out of this school or whatever and be just fine. That's not how that works, right? It's up to each of us to take on the responsibility. And that's why, okay, hey, look, if you can hear this stuff makes sense to you, you need to take on the responsibility for yourself, your family, right? And then share this with other people so they can do the same thing for themselves, right?
Yeah.
It's giving them the opportunity to do that. Go ahead, Mitch.
Well, because it can't be forced. Because like the lazy way out is saying, oh, there's going to be some child protection services or something that's going to come in and save the day. But that's just a very lazy and limited way of looking at it. Like you said, Drake. It's
But
just
where
on
are those
each of
kids even going to go if you have like a child
Yeah.
protective service?
How does it solve the problem?
Right?
Not at all. Yeah, it doesn't. So that and that's what's so unique about our approach to everything is it's not through force. It's not through something coming in and directing it per se. Rather, it's selling. It's explaining it. It's showing the vision of what's possible, and then helping people guide themselves to get there.
And you know how
that's why it's
people
gonna
are
work.
like, people are like, oh, who decides what's best? Like that was the objection. And then they're like, you just want to create some like dictatorship or something like that. And it's like, I'm literally just talking and trying to persuade and using words. The exact opposite of what a dictator, like explaining everything.
Like that's what Hitler did.
Clear.
Hitler used words.
Right. But you know what I'm saying? It's like we're literally explaining everything so that you can choose it. So we're doing the example of what we're saying. And so the ultimate outflow of that would not be a dictatorship. It would be more of that. And what's interesting is people will say that like they don't want a dictator and blah, blah, blah. Right. But when they become parents, they become a fucking dictator. Like they become literally
100%.
fucking Hitler.
100%. 100%. I see it all the time with parents. It's like, what the fuck? Like, how about you have a conversation with your child and then actually consider what's actually best for them, as opposed to, oh, I've got to go to work or whatever, and I'm just going to shove you in this and you better fucking conform. It's like, that's so fucked, but that's what parents do. And on top of that, that's what they expect out of the system. Like I've seen parents like will take their kids to daycare or school or whatever. And actually, Christine was making this point. Some parents want their kid to be disciplined by somebody else. It's the weirdest fucking thing. But usually those parents are like low vocabulary, right? But it's like, oh yeah, you need that. You need that tough love from somebody else, or I don't know, whatever they're saying. But it's like
it's such a shit show.
It is.
It's in like within myself, I'm just like, that thought will come up even for a split second of like, it's almost too far gone. Do y'all ever have that? Maybe you guys have worked through that.
Yeah, what do you mean?
Like just seeing the extent of how
Like saying the system is fucked beyond repair.
Yeah, in like to the point where now you got little kids coming out the womb and they're getting masks put on them, right? The vaccine is for however young of kids now. They're growing up in this world that's even worse and worse. It's like this accumulated consequence. But I realize it's unacceptable to even let that thought enter my mind. But it's in there. So obviously I'm still working on my process with that. But
I think a
see what
part
I'm
of
saying?
that. I think a part of that is like it's meant to normalize what's going on, and also it's because it is somewhat defeating. Like if you see all these people adopting that, then it's like, oh, okay, well then I guess I just have to accept that. I think that's for the normal person, for the average person. That's what they feel like. They see, like, even if they don't want to go along with it, they see everybody else going along with it.
Let me ask you a question. Could the elite right now put things in place and change it all within a generation or two?
Oh, for sure, of course.
So then what's the actual solution?
Right. Become elite. And then
it's not to worry about, well, all these people are, all those people are always going to do whatever they're told by the minority elite until everyone is educated effectively. But systems have to be created. So it's not about, I can't let that thought enter my mind. I mean, it's why is the thought coming up and how do I direct it so that I don't think that way anymore? Rather than suppressing the thought, right? It's good to express it, but then it's like, well, because that's kind of looking at how do I reach all these millions of retards who are putting masks on their kids? You can't. But if fucking Joe Biden and Bill Gates, all these people were like, everyone should use TechnoTutor, and they put systems in place to make sure everybody had it and they had ways to do it and everything, that would be a different story, wouldn't it? Because even if the parents are retards, the kids will still become highly effective because they'll have that vocabulary from a very young age. Now, I'm not saying that's the best way to do it. I'm just giving an example. Like you could see that happening, just like they can tell everybody to get a fucking vaccine. Now, the problem with that is they're not really selling it and they're not being transparent, and that stuff's not best.
Right.
Like when we're in those points where we can direct those points, you can be transparent. Like, this is how it works. This is why you should do it. There's no force required. There's no mandate. You don't have to mandate it. Like imagine instead they were just like, look, we're going to give everybody the vaccine. Here you go. Take it if you want to take it or not. Here's all the information. Here's all the studies. Here's everything. Right. And then people could choose to do it. That would be one thing. But why don't they trust that?
Well, it's so interesting. It's so like insidious because people are sold this idea that if they get the vaccine, they will not then spread the virus and kill people. And if the person doesn't take the vaccine, they will spread the virus and kill people. So that's this like really interesting thing that's not backed by any science.
See,
But
that's
the
force
narrative.
because they're lying, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you're paying attention and you're actually hesitant, let's say, whatever you want to call it, you're paying attention. So you're like, yeah, I already knew from the beginning that you could still spread it. Like they even said that. But then how come no one else knows it?
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
And then there's a
actually-
nuance, right?
Because they're
then
not
the-
marketing that.
Well,
Right.
now that's like it's interesting because they've progressed ever so slightly each time that they're that something new comes out or becomes mainstream. Then it's like, oh yeah, but you're not getting it, so you don't stop the spread. You're getting, which
Like,
is like,
why'd you think that, idiot? It's because you want to protect or some shit. I don't know.
yeah, it's
No,
because
like,
the symptoms are lesser. That's
Yeah.
it's because the
why.
hospitals are
you're
overrun or
less
something.
likely to. Yeah. There's
Yeah,
always
it's
some
like,
justification.
wait, what? And then like,
But everyone already got it. So why are the hospitals still overrun? Like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
yeah,
No, it doesn't make
Neil-
any sense.
Maylat pointed out this point. She's like, look up vaccinated in TechnoTutor. Right. read the
Vaccinated and
definition.
taken too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I looked it up and I was like reading it. I'm like, okay, having been rendered unsusceptible to a disease. I'm like, okay. She's like, she leans in a little bit. I'm like, wait, tell me, like, what are you seeing in this? Because I don't see it. She's like, these people aren't vaccinated. I'm like, why not? She's like, because they can still get the disease. They're not unsusceptible to it.
Well, that's
They're
why
not
a lot of
vaccinated.
they even said that I was watching this one guy and he was making this point about technically those mRNA vaccines are not even vaccines. They're just some kind of a treatment. That's like the actual word that should be used. Or
Yeah.
a drug. I think he used the word drug. It's like a drug.
Mm.
Mhm. It's true because the vaccine itself, so by definition, from my understanding, if you look up the definition, it's something that will you put something inside of you that will produce the antibodies. But that's actually not what this vaccine is. It's you're putting something inside of you that will change the genetics of a cell that will produce a spiked protein.
Right.
The thing that's actually a vaccine is the virus itself.
Right.
The virus itself will get your body to produce the antibodies. That's what a vaccine is.
Right. So if you've
In
gotten it,
reverse.
now you've been
Yeah.
vaccinated.
Exactly.
Hey,
Exactly.
I'm vaccinated. I should change my Facebook profile. You know the
Yeah.
thing?
The ring.
I mean,
yeah.
think about it.
You know the thing?
I'm vaccinated and I still got sick. I mean, how is it any different than what they're suggesting?
Right, exactly. You didn't have that severe symptoms, like right.
Here's one thing though. I know that my body's gonna be all right over the long run. Whereas you have no idea. I mean,
Well, going back to the point, like clearly
Uh-huh.
they're not going to be transparent about everything because they're trying to sell everybody on just it's like, what is it? It's a company that or a set of companies that wants to continue to make money off of something.
Like guys,
and not
have you
have
ever
it
been
questioned.
have you ever been to like some kind of, I don't know, you're listening to somebody speak or at some event or whatever, and the person is like painting this problem, and then they say, that's why you need to buy my oil, my thing, right? And then you're like, you have this reaction of, oh, you told me all that it's a problem because you're trying to sell me something, right?
Mm.
All of the pharmaceutical companies are just companies. They're doing the exact same thing.
Right. And what people don't understand, or some don't, the FDA, the Fauci's organization, the NIH, or whatever it's called, all these things have become, although maybe that wasn't their starting point initially, but they have become the company's way of having the authority reinforce what the companies want to sell. Because in our minds, it's just like all these people waking up to the fact they're like, oh, the news isn't actually trying to tell me about what's really going on in the world. It's trying to sell me on shit. It's the same thing. Like all the government organizations, all of them, they're there to sell you on the same, on the shit that the companies who are basically in the pockets of the politicians want you to buy and want you to do. But so because you think that there's an authority, that's why you listen to it, and you'll think like, oh, but this authority says so. It's like somebody who read something in National Geographic, and it's like, but it was in National Geographic, and you're like, that's just a fucking magazine some dude like me made up one day and started selling it. It's not some fucking authority on something. Neither is a science journal. It's the same thing. Somebody was like, hey, I'm gonna start a journal. And then they started it, and then people started doing it, and more like prominent people started participating, and suddenly it had a brand to it that people respect. But it's literally just a fucking product.
Yeah.
But we have this belief in our, especially in American society, I'm assuming it's in other places too, of like that, oh, if it's in a scientific journal, therefore equals
Right,
valid.
it's like uncorruptible or something.
Even
Oh,
if-
oh,
Yeah,
even if it's in
exactly.
a
Like it's so
magazine.
pure.
and my favorite part.
Oh, your mic went out, dude.
Oh, buddy.
Oh shit! Is it okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's the smacking it constantly.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think it's smacking it fixes it, right? Um,
Just like a
Jesus.
parent with a child.
Yes. You're like the
yeah,
average
just
parent.
smacking around up.
That was his first response. It was just like,
well,
hey, something wrong with your
You
mic.
gotta do a slow-mo
like
of that.
father, like son. Like, come on. My first 7 years, you have to take that into consideration. No, I've learned this mic. There's some kind of mechanical point from the day I got it. And I just
It's
stick
weird.
with
I've
it.
never had that problem with my Blue Yeti now.
You also didn't have it with the
That was
exact same
great.
mic that I had, the Fiffin mic. Mitchell doesn't have it either. So get out of here.
What were you saying?
No way.
Can't hear
If
now.
you went to a,
Uh,
if you went to a
Yo,
Christian-
you're going in and out.
it's like coming in
Acid.
and out.
Listen.
Ready. Hello.
Acid.
Hello. Yeah.
I'm not being sponsored, but these Yeti Nanos are 20% off on Amazon right now. You can get it for
Did show
$80. Just put it in your thing. In 3 days, you'll have it.
Just Asif, just
Just go
use the
fucking buy
link
it.
posted in the description of this
No,
video.
but seriously,
once we post the
I wish
video.
I had used that link because I bought it at Walmart and it was $100.
Right.
But my point is, this is a good mic. You should get one because that
How does this sound right now, though?
sounds fine
It's
now.
Okay now.
Yeah, I'm gonna get. I will get a new mic. I think. I don't know. So closes me. Still works.
Put into
well.
your Techno Tutor. I just buy what I need and want.
But I like this microphone. That's the
Why?
thing. Because it fits well with the arm and the squishy. I guess I could
Alright.
put that on the next one.
You need a compass boom arm also.
True. I can just get a new boom arm. Imagine you went to a Christian person and you were like, "Why do you believe God is real? Like, why are you so fixated on that? Like,
'Cause
you're
I
talking about it
learned
as if it's real."
Santa when I was a kid, and
Right.
that was real to me.
But imagine this. Imagine they're like, obviously God is real. They're like, yeah, but where's your research for that? They're like, I have peer-reviewed articles by it. Ask the other people in my church.
Oh fuck.
Plus, I felt it one time.
Well, actually, the Bible was peer reviewed, right? Like, oh, they got together and they put the Bible. These are the correct ones and all this stuff.
But that's what peer-reviewed in essence is.
Yeah.
It's your peers reviewing it.
Oh fuck.
You would never do that with a church. Ask the other people in my church, the people who studied the same information that I did. That's what peer reviewed is. But that's like the symbol of this works. You know
Also,
what
like-
gets peer reviewed? You remember those? I don't remember who was doing these YouTube videos on it, but there was a somebody did a project
Mhm.
where they went into the the studies, the transgender studies and all that. What's that all called?
Social sciences? No.
What is it?
I was gonna say social sciences, but I think that's usually like politics and shit.
Cameron, what did you say?
retarded.
Oh
Sorry.
yes, that's it. That's I.
The
I
branch
knew I
of
was off.
university that studies that. Yeah, they released articles into it. They went into there and pretended to be experts, and every time they said something totally fucking retarded, like, dogs are gay. I don't know. It was like some really retarded.
Yeah, what was
stuff.
that?
Like
You remember what I'm
culture
talking about?
and
I remember you
dog-
bringing that
dogs.
up. Yeah.
It's like when they said retarded shit that supported a particular political point, it gets through to the articles. It gets through to the published scientific journals. But if it wasn't saucy enough, if it didn't have enough sauce, then it wouldn't get published. And then after they released, oh, by the way, all that research that we did was not true at all. Then they had to redact the articles, and they said, "Oh,
They
no,
were
it's
like,
just
see, you
true."
scammed us and all this stuff, and it was all bullshit, and they lied. and
Even
we were
the-
like,
the
"No,
redaction
that
is
was
like
your
this-
process."
Well,
Uh-huh.
and it's like this little thing in the very back of the next journal that's like, oh, and please note this article from the past was, not actually true, but it doesn't matter because the headline hit and the impact was made.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Even for things that are true, the headline hits, the impact is made, and that's that.
That's why there was all that suppression over the Hunter Biden laptop story around the election, because they
Right.
suppressed it long enough just because they knew it would have that effect, and then they were able to suppress the effect that it would have.
Where if you do this, a spike, right, through releasing the headlines, that has the impact. If you just let people find out about it because they can't get it through Twitter, Facebook, all the main media sources, nobody cares, right? Like the whole Ghislaine Maxwell trial that's been going on and all that. People are like, why is this not front page of every single news
Right.
source available?
Did you also see that they
Crazy.
sealed all the documents basically from
What
that
do you mean?
trial? Basically, all the witnesses, everything that was shared or came to light because of that trial has been sealed, and it's not available to the public.
Sealed. What does that mean?
It just
Uh,
means that you can't access that information. Like
That's
they can't they won't release it publicly.
What is their reasoning?
it's like it's
behind that?
confidential, essentially.
Yeah.
They're like, guys, if we released it, it would hurt all these like really famous people, but also those people didn't do anything. There's nothing to see here, so don't worry about it.
That's not fair to them, you know.
That's crazy. So
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, I'm almost done with 1984. Finally, man.
Hold on. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, holy shit. It took a minute for that book to get going for me, but now I'm like, this is literally what's happening with like Twitter and all these big companies.
Where are you at in the book? You said you're
Yeah.
almost finished?
Yeah, I've got maybe like 80 pages left.
Hmm.
Yeah. Cameron's like, I know exactly where that is. Just hearing how
I'm gonna
Um,
guess he's at the part where he's with Julia in that weird room that they're renting or whatever.
it's definitely past that. He had just met that guy O'Brien or whatever, and
50-50, I was right or wrong. And then I was gonna put it to
but it's like they build it all up to this one big week, and then like in the moment they switch the enemy of the state. So it's like they're all like hating on this one country that's their enemy, which they're probably not even at war with. And then in the moment they just switch it, and now it's like you can't even question what it just was. It
But
just
you
like
see,
the
that's
fucking narrative.
exactly, yeah.
It's just like the narrative with COVID, right? It's like 2 weeks, just 2 weeks. Oh, we need us 2 weeks. Oh, 2 more weeks. Oh, 4 more weeks. Oh, just
It was so funny.
It's
Oh,
social
it
credit
was
system.
never about, being protected from the virus. It was about this,
It's so funny. Somebody posted because the premier of Ontario is Doug Ford. And he
He's
said
like a
something.
paragon of good health, obviously.
Yeah, a little chubby.
isn't that the guy
fatso.
doing crack like 3 years ago?
His brother was a
Oh.
crackhead. Who's now dead.
Got it.
Oh.
But it was
Well, how did he die? COVID?
no, he died before that. I think.
COVID cocaine, right?
Anytime
guys see
anybody
that
dies,
ranking?
I'm just gonna be like, was it COVID? Even if it was like fucking Abraham Lincoln. They're like, oh, he got shot in that theater by that dude. And I'm like, oh wow, did he
Oh
die of COVID?
wow, COVID. Yeah.
Did he die of COVID?
Yeah. He's like, I know it's been it's funny because after like 2 weeks or a month, he's like, I know it's been a long month, and it was, I just started laughing right away because he was like, I know, how long has it been? I don't remember how long it's been specifically, but he was basically like, I know it's been a long 22 months. And I know that you've had to dig deep emotionally.
Yeah.
But now we just need to dig a little deeper. I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God.
It's fucking savage.
It's like,
No one can stop. Like, how do you stop that?
Hold on, real quick. Wasn't Doug Ford supposed to be sort of like cool? Like he was gonna
he's
wasn't that
conservative.
supportive?
He's
Right, but
conservative, right?
A
So
lot of
you would
people I think
assume-
were like, yeah, fuck the liberals. We're gonna get this guy in. Right?
exactly right. But he
So
has
the
like
same
a
thing
shipping
happened
label
with him.
company that he's
Same thing happened with
benefiting.
Trump. Same thing happened with what's that guy in the UK, Boris Johnson.
Oh,
Where it
yeah.
seemed- they seem pretty badass,
Oh,
and then they're like totally buying into it.
Did you watch that Catherine Austin Fitz interview? The most recent one on like Truman Club or Truman Show or something?
Yeah.
And how she explains how it's like, if you're at that level right now, and you're one of the presidents of your nation or your country or whatever, it's like you either go along or you're one of the 6 that didn't.
Yeah, she
And
said
they
like
either
6 to 8 of
didn't get
them.
reelected, they died of a heart attack, or whatever.
Yeah.
So it makes sense when you see that, why it's the same damn narrative across.
And
Remember
you
the
hear when
guy-
she said, do you
I was
remember
just
when
gonna
she
say
said,
really quickly, there was this guy in like a third world country, and he was the president of it. He's like, COVID is bullshit, and he tested like a fruit
Oh,
and like
yeah.
a goat or
yeah.
something, and it was
and
like
then he
positive,
died right after that.
and then he died just like that.
Oh fuck!
Yeah,
What?
yeah.
I didn't realize he
Oh.
died
Yeah, it was crazy. I was like, dude, what the fuck?
of COVID though, right?
It was a heart attack.
Oh
think it was a
Right.
heart
They
attack.
have technology that can fucking stop your heart.
fuck!
This is like a well-known fucking thing, and people always say it's a conspiracy theory. But anyways,
What do you mean? Like remotely? You mean?
It's like an electromagnetic, like
It's like a weapon that can
Actually, I watched that anime. Where you could just write somebody's name down and they have.
You
a
need
heart
some
attack.
body armor. Get a Halo suit.
The something book, Death Note or something.
Death Note. That's it.
My cousin was telling me about it. But have you guys seen that movie Kingsman?
I think I did. I don't remember though.
It's pretty cool. It's like younger people who are like training
James
to
Bond.
become
come like
James Bond,
type, yeah.
basically.
Okay. Yeah.
But the villain in it is like a billionaire or whatever,
Spy Kids.
No, shut up, Drake. Sorry, Spy Kids. But what he does is he gets everyone free implants in the back of their ear. Or sorry, he gets everybody SIM cards.
Yeah,
SIM cards.
it's like so you
And-
can have free internet, right?
Forever, exactly. Unlimited internet forever. Everybody should have free phone bills.
Wait, Neuralink?
Stop it. But where everybody should have free internet and always have the best connectivity for Wi-Fi. And then he gave it out for free. Everyone's like, oh my God. So they all get it. And what he does is he gives all the billionaires and presidents and everybody who wanted to go along with his thing, they give them an implant in the back of their ear where they would get notified, hey, I'm about to release this thing. So he brought them all to like the safe haven where he brought them to a big fucking mansion cave party thing. And they had big screens everywhere. And then what he did, Doomsday or something like that, he activated a signal. And what it did is it put out this frequency that made everybody insane and start killing each other. We're all the-
X-Men.
Stop it.
Oh, spoiler alert.
Right. It's an old movie. So if you didn't see it,
I don't
Yeah,
think I saw this
seriously.
movie,
If it's like
honestly.
within the last year,
yeah, it was like a while ago. Anyways, my point is all the billionaires got they kind of got a free pass because they were going along with the bullshit. And everybody else, they started killing each other because they needed to reduce the population because blah 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 blah. Classic rhetoric,
Climate
right?
change.
And the interesting point is all the billionaires who got that chip in the back of their neck, there was a feature in it where if one of them crossed the billionaire or went the other way, he just pushes a button and their head explodes.
Oh, nice.
so they
So
still
there's-
have. You still got them too.
Exactly. So at the end of it, the main character, like, he kills all the billionaires and all that stuff by pushing that button, and all their heads start exploding. But the real point is, there's always that back door where it's like, hey, shake my hand, you're on my team now. But we have this thing against you that we will take you out at any time if you ever cross us.
Well, Catherine, I don't know if you saw. I think you saw that part because we watched it at your house, right? But you were like,
And I
falling
was
asleep.
sleeping,
It was
but
pretty
whatever,
late,
we'll
yeah.
get over it.
But all I would say though, if you haven't, the ending is really good. I would highly suggest to finish.
I'm gonna
watching.
watch through the whole
Like,
thing.
the
Me and
very
Nayla were
ending.
watching it.
There was- I
What
forget
about
what
the
the point
ending?
was. I don't remember, but I just
Well-
remember like I finished it when I got home, and I was like, "Oh damn! Like this was an important point." I just can't remember what it was. though.
Oh,
Oh, no, I
yeah,
think
yeah.
it was her. I think it was her talking about like the solution. And
Yeah,
like,
yeah. She actually had a real solution, like as opposed
Whoa.
to, oh, it's just love and all this. She was like, no, we have to take responsibility. We have to educate ourselves. It was actually pretty cool.
Yeah. She was saying like, if you're looking around in your house and most of your furniture is not bought from someone that you know in town, like change that, and like take your cash out. Stop funding these banks and companies that are basically owned by BlackRock and Vanguard. So
The point that
interesting.
she was making is like, we are doing it to ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think she even said that, something to that
Yes,
effect,
she did.
right?
yeah,
Right.
and it was interesting though when she explained how she thinks how their plan will fail, but I see how within
I don't
that,
remember that. What was that point?
she just says that like Mr. Global, she calls it Mr. Global's plan is ultimately going to fail. But then as that falls apart, we're going to need new people to come in who have solutions, who are ready for people.
Oh, that was the other thing she said. She's like, you can't just wait for it to fail and then, you know, hope that everything's going to be okay. Like something needs to already be being created right now in order to take the place of that.
Right. That's what we've said too, is like,
Yeah.
you can't just be like, oh, but God is on our side and their plans will come to naught. And it's like, well, so then you're going to put your kids in what school? And you're going to get your food from what grocery store? And you're going to get your entertainment from what movie theater? Like, you're just going to create all that stuff suddenly real quick when you're not fucking like,
right.
It takes
It's going to be a
time.
vacuum.
It
for
takes
more people.
time
Mhm.
to accumulate all of that stuff.
Right.
You
Right.
can't just start later.
And it'll be a vacuum where then the other psychopathic people will just want to get into those positions. Right. So
Right.
that's why the system needs to change fundamentally. With
You're gonna have Gil Bates coming up.
Who's that?
It's the next guy
Bill
in
Gates'
line.
alter ego.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move on.
My point
Please.
is the function of the system has not changed. Even if the people at the top get removed, there's going to be people that just go back to the top, like Mitchell was saying. It's going to be whoever's the most savage, ruthless, et cetera, et cetera.
There was this point I wanted to add. It's kind of going back a little bit, just because I know we're getting close to the time we want to stop. But it was this point about, we were talking about like the peer review and all that stuff, right?
Mhm.
And the people who are like, oh, but it's peer reviewed, like, and who automatically accept the authority of that, or the authority of whoever is the authority. There's this point where they're not processing, like, and you already kind of hit on this point, but it's like, but there's like a political atmosphere of like, if you say certain things, you'll get along.
Yep.
If you don't, you'll be punished, you'll be ostracized, whatever. And so if you're submitting your paper to a peer-reviewed journal, the people who are reviewing it are also in that political atmosphere. And they also know, if I allow certain things and I don't, there's going to be mobs coming after me and kicking me off the board, or we're going to have this whole PR problem and all this stuff. And so that would influence it. There is no like this pure, oh, it's science and therefore everything is done with integrity. Because you can't, and this is the double think. You can't simultaneously think that and then think, well, that one scientist who said COVID has increased myocarditis or whatever, he's a crackpot and a scammer. Well, so how do you discern which scientists are of pure of heart and pure of logic and reason, and which ones are just political agents? Because so what that person is not considering is that they are actually influenced by the political atmosphere themselves. The person making the assessment that certain scientists are good, certain scientists are bad, that person is actually just going along with the political atmosphere.
You know what it's literally like? It's like the Cultural Revolution in China. Like exactly like that. From the perspective of, you have these intellectuals, and then it's like, oh, some of these intellectuals, they're bad because they're saying things that go against our narrative, right? And so we have to cancel them, essentially. Although in China, they were just like chopping their heads off. But the other thing is, it's almost like people are trying to make themselves pure of heart by just brainwashing themselves, or I have to just completely accept that I have to feel like I'm doing something for other people. And so I can't even entertain that idea that something could be wrong with the vaccine or whatever. It's just like, no. I'm just, I'm going along with it. So I have to push harder so people know I care and I love them and all this. And like, that's basically what's happening, you know?
Remember how we were saying earlier, how people like deep down are all craving this attention because they didn't get it. because you were put into a system that didn't care about you, so it didn't give you attention. So that's within you, and you're just going around looking for that. It's a way of like, it's like if I say it's the same shit people do when it comes to God. If I just believe in him and give all of my attention to him, he will accept me into heaven because I'm fucked otherwise. Same thing. It's just there's no more God anymore for most people. It's the political system. And
Mhm.
so it's like if I just go along with everything, then I will be accepted. I will
get a good social credit score.
And
I will get some sort of, but it's not even a logical thing. It's just like a impulse. So it's the system has found how to exploit that part in people.
Uh-huh.
Right?
and Bernard talks about that point of how what atheism could have become was the cut of people who can process information basically and use reasoning ability. But what it has become is actually what we're seeing now of believe in science. Because the same people who thought they were too smart for religion are still too stupid to really take their own authority within evaluating information. Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah.
Right? And so
And that okay, hold on real quick. That is a perfect example of when we say all judgment is self-judgment. Because the atheist is like, look at these dumbass religious people who just believe
Right.
in stuff and it's just emotional and they don't even fucking actually investigating the reality or the logic of it. They do
Boom.
the same fucking thing right now.
right.
When it comes to science and
And it's
that
probably, you remember how you're making the point of you can't simultaneously say this scientist is a crackpot if you're saying believe all science, right? Like believe all women, right? But in the same way that you can't say, you shouldn't be able to simultaneously say capitalism is a broken system because everybody only does things for profit, and then just say science is its own vacuum that doesn't exist in that system. That's pure.
Yeah.
It's in the same fucking system.
But then I watched the same people group collectively go, I don't agree with Fauci saying that, you should only have to quarantine for 5 days instead of the normal 10 days or whatever, because there was something where the CEO of Delta called him and said, we can't work with this, this 10-day quarantine. Can we reduce it to 5? And he went along with it. And like, they're so corrupt and all this, and FDA and everybody's so corrupt. And I'm like, who fucking told you about the 10 days in the first place?
Yeah.
Right.
Like, you didn't think it was corrupt back then? But it's not able.
Amazing.
It's imagine being able to use all of this logic and be like, you have to trust Fauci no matter what, and using that to just destroy everything.
And Disney
And
released
then
published a
immediately
book.
turning on him and being like, now I'm the fucking authority somehow. Like
Right.
they literally internalized that authority. And now they've paid so much allegiance to it that now they've become that.
And Disney published a book about Fauci.
Yeah.
How hilarious is that? Right. But yeah, just to take it full circle, to hit on the points, this has been a long playbook that we can wish and hope that we did something about it sooner as generation, but this is us taking responsibility right now. Because just like we were talking about before, you get put in a classroom and then you realize you're just a number, nobody cares about you, you feel unimportant. And then boom, the system says, hey, here's a way to feel important. Start making political stances and start making scientific statements that make you feel good, that make you feel like you're really altruistic. And you're doing this not because you're afraid of your own goddamn self and dying, but you're doing this to protect the people. Malat said this hilarious point. We'll kind of wrap on this. But Malat said, why should I limit myself because you didn't take care of your body and you might die? And we were making a joke about it. If somebody says, hey, can you put your mask on? And you say, why? Well, because of other people, blah, blah, blah. Ask them, well, what are you doing with your life that makes you so deserving of more life?
Oh, fuck.
What are you doing with your life that makes you so worthy of controlling everybody around you
Right.
to limit themselves and limit their oxygen intake? Because that's a bunch of fucking bullshit.
Right. And here's the ultimate point of truth here is that every fucking day over 20,000 children die from preventable causes that we know we have solutions for.
Yeah.
None of these people bat a fucking eye, make a single Facebook post, even comment on your Facebook post when you make it. So they actually don't give a fuck about human life. They don't. They just care about themselves feeling good and feeling superior.
So all
So
we're
with
looking
that,
for, yeah, all we're looking for are the people who see reality enough to be like, yeah, this is confusing and total bullshit.
Yeah.
And I want to be with a group of people who are actually serious about not just having a great life for themselves, but actually making a difference in this world. And not just a difference, like taking a stand, because just not wearing your mask is a protest. Just not taking the vaccine is just a protest. It's not going to, in and of itself, do anything. Not that I'm saying to go do those things, right? But what I'm saying is it needs to be substantiated by becoming the new elite. Because it was a really good point, Mitch. I'm really glad you brought up that point of like, I have that thought sometimes, because I do, right? Of like, fuck, I think we're too far gone. But then you're like, no, I'm here to change that. But that point is kind of automated inside of us. But Karen made the great point, a great point. All the people who follow along with things are always going to be people who follow along with things. So let's just be they who are giving the directives. So for those of you who are listening to this, who are ready and willing to walk a process to actually physically become that, you know, really, really ready and willing to take that full responsibility, that's what we're about, baby.
Yes. So
Last
join
point.
us. Yeah.
Hey, you know how they say like, you know, the stuff they don't want you to know about, everyone refers to like these shadow elite as they.
Uh-huh.
But what are all the trans people changing their pronouns to?
Shadow elite.
them.
You came through there. Came through.
That's
Like,
good.
subscribe, comment if you're
Share.
impressed with
Yeah.
Cameron's mic.
Share, and then take this on for real and become a distributor, because that's how you're actually going to see the new system that's being built, and you can get really fucking rich doing it too, and
Yeah.
make a huge difference.
Or keep doing your own bullshit and fuck you.
Pay the price. Pay the price later. All right.
All right.
Love it. Bye.